HT Smartcast.
You are listening to an HT Smartcast original.
Papa hai na. A sentence that has supported generations of young minds. A sentence that has created safe, secure places for children around the world to explore their personalities, build their characters, become well-rounded adults. But एक secret बताऊं, सिर्फ आपको बता रहा हूं. Fathers are fully supportive not only when they live for their families, but also when they live for themselves. Think of it. After all, they have to set an example. And examples are exactly what we will explore on this podcast brought to you by SBI Life. Hey, I'm Rishi K. I'm a radio host on 94.3 Radio 1. But I'll tell you what. My biggest sign of achievement is that I'm known as Tiara and Ira's father. I have an elder one, a miracle, who's 9 years old, and a second miracle, who's almost 3. And I'm extremely proud to say that I am their father first and everything else later. And I'm going to make you meet some fathers जो अपनी family का मोराल तो build करते हैं ही, साथ ही अपनी life के hero बनने से चूकते नहीं. इसलिए तो confidence के साथ हम कहते हैं पापा है ना. Ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is called SBI Life, Apne Liye, Apno Ke Liye. I'm extremely happy to have with us today Nikhil Anand Giri. He began his career in television with the Voice of India channel, and he's currently manager of corporate communications at Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. Nikhil, wonderful to meet you. You know, Kabir Bedi ke baad aapka hi number aata lagta mujhe.
Thank you, Rishi. Thanks for inviting me to the studio. Namaskar to all the listeners also.
Nikhil, you've dabbled in so many things. Aap lekhak hai, you're a producer, an assistant producer. At some point, you've also been an assistant producer to the singer Mahua Kamath. Now, this is a very, very media-rich career, my friend. I'd like you to talk about this extremely interesting journey of yours.
Yeah, Rishi, I was born in Bihar and largely brought up in Jharkhand. So if you look from that perspective, being a very ordinary small-town guy, getting big platforms to work with, I consider it really interesting and adventurous indeed. In fact, in the school days, I opted for a bio-maths combination, which was not my cup of tea at all. Neither I wanted to become a doctor nor an engineer. Lekin padhta tha main bio-maths because there was a girl, who used to study there in the class.
There's always a girl behind every successful man.
But it was a universal middle-class choice those days in Bihar, Jharkhand. So on the other side, I also started, realizing that I have some poetry skills within me. And that was the better part of myself, which I was exploring simultaneously with all other trivial things. So since I was a little creative, someone suggested कि तुम जामिया चले जाओ in Delhi. There is a place...
MCRC.
MCRC, right? Mass Communication Research Center. So that is a place for you. When I came to Delhi, so I was from a normal middle-class family. So I was sandwiched between two sides. One is a glamorous career waiting for me and a family side. My father was going to retire in 2009. I came to Delhi in 2006. So, I had to explore things within me very quickly, very fast. So I just tried to explore it. And जो मुझे लगा कि one thing which I excel over others in the Jamia fraternity is command over my language, that is Hindi. लोग अभी भी सरप्राइज होते हैं कि तुम्हारी तो हिंदी अच्छी है. तो मैं सरप्राइज होता हूँ कि भाई मेरी हिंदी नहीं अच्छी होगी, किसकी अच्छी होगी? क्योंकि मैं बिहार से हूँ, छपरा में पैदा हुआ हूँ, रांची जमशेदपुर में मेरी अपब्रिंगिंग हुई है. सो मेरी स्पेनिश या फ्रेंच थोड़ी अच्छी होगी. सो दैट इज वन थिंग विच गिव्स मी अ सेंस ऑफ प्राइड कि जो भी पढ़ाई की ठीक ठाक की. एंड देन आई थॉट कि इसी को और एक्सप्लोर करते हैं. एंड वन थिंग, पोएट्री वॉज समथिंग विच एवरीबडी लाइक्स. Career wise also, when you go to media or any other industry, poetry is one thing, one quotient which everyone likes. तो मुझे लगा कि why not explore this poetry skill better? Hindi blogging was in vogue that time. So Jamia had free internet. So I started doing Hindi blogging a lot. And then I started getting some good awards also through some Hindi blogs. Best poet, best Hindi blogger, kind of. So, that really kept my momentum on. But again, India has many poets again. You have bathroom poets, you have bathroom singers. Every field has a lot of competition in that sense. So when I came to poetry, blogging was not seen as a, upmarket tradition. There were established poets who were published poets that way. It took almost, 5 to 6 years. I think in 2013-14, the first poem was published in an established magazine called Pakhi. And then the editor called me that, you have some potential. Why don't you keep writing poems for our magazine? And then, there was an award called Shabd Sadhak Yuva Samman. Then I went to Raipur, and one of the celebrity poets nowadays is Vinod Kumar Shukla.
Wow.
So he awarded me in the presence of Kedarnath Singh. So they are established poets in the Hindi poetry world. So, that again gave me a good impetus. In 2017, again, there was a competition called Ravi Shankar Upadhyay Smriti Puraskar. So that I was awarded with that annual award at Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU. So then I also became quite popular in that, what you call the mainstream Hindi poetry world. And that was a real turning point in life, I must say. I saw a whole lot of new things waiting for me, be it cinema, blogging, Hindi poetry, voiceovers, news production, etc., etc. And apart from being a jack of all trades in media, now I'm a family man also, a son, a brother, a father, as you said, Papa Hannah for my daughter. I have a 7-year-old daughter, Urja. Nickname is Loi.
What a lovely name. What a lovely name.
Right.
Yeah.
So the journey is still on, Trishi.
In the many roles that you've played in your life, which you continue to play, Nikhil, what is that one constant goal? What is the fuel that keeps you going and running?
See, I believe strongly that each one of us has something unique, something special, which makes us unique, different, and indispensable for the world we live in. So the drive to find that self within yourself should be that drive for every human being to keep us, meaningfully alive. That tumhare bhitar wo kya hai? It can be your passionate nature, it can be your creative quotient, it can be your loyalty towards others, your compassion, as a behavior, whatever. All of us should have the goal to find that thing within us. For me, the drive to find that trait in myself and make this world a better place is that drive which keeps me alive. You find yourself within yourself, so that is the best quest of your life.
It's very, very beautifully put. When we are about to become fathers, there's, forget about external expectations, really, Nikhil.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many expectations that we have from our own selves. Even before we had Tiara, she's now 9. I had a certain, the English language doesn't have a word for this, but a chavi jise kehte hain. Hindi mein bolte na chavi. Image, yeah. An image or a chavi of what I should be as a father. I'm curious to know, did you have that? What was your definition of being a good father? How much has that changed? And changed in particular after becoming the dad? Because from the image, we now have to live a real life story with our wonderful sons or daughters.
I think we all should agree on this, that the first lessons we learned for becoming a father is from our own parents only. Yeah. So what was inherited within me from my father was a relationship of trust. I call it blind faith. He used to work with the police department and was posted frequently at different remote places of Bihar and Jharkhand across the state. So my mother had the responsibility to take care of us for all 4 siblings. So Papa used to come only on weekends, on some other rest days only. He never used to go to collect our mark sheet in the school. All the fathers, that kind of that authority, that moral policing, that was not my part of childhood with my father. So I barely remember him scolding us at home, actually. And even being a robust cop at work. But at home, he was a very different person in that sense. I also tried not to annoy him. So that was a, barter kind of system that, he was honest to me and I was honest to him. So this was the blind faith we had in us. And I have learned this and tried to hand over this legacy to my daughter, Loi. When you show trust in your child, try not to scold on her, every innocent mistakes and appreciate it in a subtle manner. You are actually making her a more confident and a mature citizen than a pampered child. So I want to make Loi that original herself.
That is such a beautiful thing to say. Your father's profession was supposed to be aggression when he dealt with people who were breaking the law. But he came back and he brought that sense of peace in his relationship with you. And often, as a father, I have to remind myself saying, I might have had a stressful day at work, and I'm sure you go through it, Nikhil. But when you come home, you can't let that stress get on to your children. Because children are like a sponge, isn't it, Nikhil? They absorb, they can feel it in the air and the energy, what you're going through.
Very true, very true. When I reach back at home, so, I am full of lot of incidents which happen in Delhi Metro right now. You can understand Delhi Metro is the lifeline of the city.
Yeah.
So, whatever I do, but if she says, ki, Papa, mujhe bhindi khani hai, so I didn't start cooking bhindi for her. So, keeping aside everything else. So, wo chalta rehta hai. So, lives are parallel with her. When she sees, my frowns on my eyebrows, तो कहती पापा आप इसको ठीक कर लीजिए ऐसे मेरा forehead ऐसे करके
Ah, sweet.
I'm telling you, these are the nuances which I get from my daughter.
let's do some nostalgia. I mean, you just said you're a native of Bihar. You grew up in Jharkhand, Ranchi, Jamshedpur. I believe it's been a decade and a half post shifting to Delhi. 2006 is when you moved.
Right.
And like every parent who's bringing up their children in a city that's not really their own. I mean, I'm sure Delhi is your own in a lot of ways, but your heart still belongs to Bihar. There are things that you miss from your childhood. What are those things for you?
To be honest, I don't have any rooted affinity with a single city there is no hometown as such for me. I was born in Chhapra, in Bihar, where I never went till I was 25 years of age. Then due to my father's frequent postings to different small towns in Bihar, Jharkhand, I was exposed to different people, different locations, worlds, cultural identities, sensitivities, but in Bihar, Jharkhand only. So there is no one town, but all towns have a common factor in that innocence. So that actually made me a cleverer and smarter being to adapt quickly in my profession also, in my life also, or in any situation, without any language, any culture, any kind of other biases. What has become better is the city has adapted according to me, because my strong sense of being rooted, jo main hu, wahi dikhu, mera original jo mera nature hai. So, that was new to the ambience where I belong to nowadays. And they have embraced me with my unique identity. So that has made me a better person in life.
चूंकि पॉडकास्ट का नाम है अपने लिए अपनों के लिए, it's a symbiotic relationship. I mean, there is no discounting that we feel that fathers are heroes, but fathers are heroes only because their daughters are heroines or their sons are heroes too, because they made a father out of us, isn't it?
True.
And उसी symbiotic relationship से मुखातिब है ये quote. I came across a quote by the author and poet Anthony Liccioni, and he says, everyone needs a house to live in, but a supportive family is what builds a home. So the difference between a house and a home really, and I'm sure you agree with me, Nikhil, is the family. And both of us can vouch for the truth of the quote. Now, we're also in India called, quote unquote, bread earners. And we can't earn that bread if we don't have our family's support. So now let's talk about the family supporting you, how they are the wind beneath your wings. How's your family supported you in your endeavors, professionally as well as personally? Not just when you're handling copcoms, you're the big man there, but also when you're writing poetry.
Yes, very true. I totally agree with your quote. As they say, family is the first school, and I mean it for that matter. At least in India, this bonding is so strong that the relationships are long-lasting. Without them, we are nothing in life. I can talk you about my mother, for instance. My mother can barely read or write, but the way I have been brought up by her in my childhood is amazing. She woke up so early, prepared tiffin for us, never missed to fetch our early school bus at 5:40 a.m. in Ranchi. So that unconditional support to ensure good education to me without being literate is something which cannot be explained in words. My father was always worried of my career, seeing my hobbies such as poetry, sari badmashiyan, and all, but but he was very supportive from behind, always there, like a potter, कि पीछे से हैं थामे हुए. My elder brother, my sisters, we all fought like anything worse, but the sense of affection is always there. We still share the same bond. And I, again, try to pass on the same legacy to my daughter again, Eloy. My friends were a huge support. So the whole world became a family just because I got that, sense of belongingness inside the family only. Yes, you're true that bina family ke to mushkil hai kuch bhi dekh pana.
The key for all fathers, Nikhil, and I want your opinion on this, is balancing out the time. And especially for somebody like you, because you have a primary job and you have a parallel passion and the responsibilities for the family. What advice would you like to give to all fellow fathers out there? I mean, we're just learning from each other.
My advice to my fellow fathers is not to, Google about 100 ways of being a good father. Wo kaam nahi karega. So there is actually no set formula to this. So, you should try to read your child's innocence and uniqueness and then try to sculpt their life by holding them, whenever they require you. In fact, we should learn from them. Appreciate whatever wild or weird they do and try to find a logic in them. So we should not overdo it and always be a company to them, even if not physically present.
These are wonderful moments that I've spent with you. Like I said, it is just two fathers sharing experiences, and that's exactly what we've done, Nikhil. जाने से पहले कुछ चंद लाइनें हो जाए, something that you'd like to read for us, please. And now I'm asking you to put on your poet's hat.
काफी कुछ है, कोई एक पढ़ देता हूँ.
जी.
ये 2 मिनट की कविता है. ये है बहुरूपीय पिताओं के बारे में. This is dedicated to my father. So for every father who is a senior citizen now, in that sense. उम्र के उस किनारे किसी विशाल और सजीव मूरत की तरह खड़ा है जैसे कोई सदियों से. मैं समंदर की तरफ बहता हूं और पांव छूकर लौट आता हूं। पूछूंगा कभी उन पांवों से भीतर तक महसूस हुआ कि नहीं। सबसे अधिक बातें करना चाहता हूं पिता से, असंख्य तारों से भी ज्यादा, उन भाषाओं में जो गढ़ी नहीं गई, एवं उन लिपियों में जिनका नाम तक नहीं मालूम। ऐसे ही संभव हैं कुछ बातें तुम्हारी आंखों में धंसे दुख के बारे में, जो उतर आता है मेरी नसों में भी बिना किसी मुहूर्त के। मेरे माथे पर उगाती हैं तुम्हारे चेहरे की सब झुर्रियां। मिलना चाहता हूं उन सब पिताओं से जो दिखते हैं मुझ में प्रेमिकाओं की आंखों से। मैं पिता से प्रेमिकाओं की तरह मिलना चाहता हूं, देवताओं की तरह नहीं।
बहुत खूबसूरत, बहुत खूबसूरत. I'm just getting goosebumps as I'm listening to that. And blessed are we that we have our fathers, and blessed are we that we have our daughters. That was Nikhil Anand Giri. Nikhil, thank you for sharing your life with us. Thank you for doing a dad-to-dad session with me. And cheers to all the fathers out there who are trying to be the best dads that they can be.
Thanks, my pleasure. करो पूरे अपने इरादे, अपनों से किए सभी वादे। SBI लाइफ, अपने लिए, अपनों के लिए।
That's it for this podcast episode. This was a story of a father following his passion, fulfilling needs and aspirations of his loved ones. To stay updated onto this podcast, follow HT Smartcast. That's at HT Smartcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, or simply log on to htsmartcast.com. That's htsmartcast.com. Subscribe to the Apne Liye, Apno Ke Liye podcast brought to you by SBI Life Insurance. For more details, log on to www.sbilife.co.in. That's sbilife.co.in. IRDAI registration number 111.
This was an HT Smartcast original.
HT Smartcast.